Last time we explored the first of my old creative gaming channels, which was an interesting experience to say the least. Today let's dive into my second channel, the Project Gaming. The interesting thing about the start of the Project Gaming was that I started with these very short 1 to 2 minute videos that honestly belong on TikTok. There were these tips and tricks videos that I was doing because there's this function in The Sims where you can basically move objects wherever you want. It's literally called move objects. So I was giving ideas of how you can leverage on that to create kind of fancier looking objects. Stacked lamp. Oh, I remember how I used to do this all the time. And then it was just these quick little kind of snippets that show you how do you do it, this is how you like raise and lower the objects and stuff like that. And then some inspiration advice. This format would work perfectly on social media these days, but the one thing I cannot stand, and this is why I'm not on TikTok and stuff, I cannot stand vertical video. I need landscape. As someone who appreciates like that as a space and as a medium. Oh, there was a City Skylines tour as well that was run on a horrible graphics card. This was before I really figured out how to properly like make use of the game visually. Okay, we're playing with the sunrise and stuff, that's fine. Yeah, look, that's terrible. Things moving so quickly that you can't see anything at all. Oh dear. So after the short little tips and tricks videos, I started toying around with the idea of using TV show style editing. It was an interesting format that I wanted to try out, so I created this series called The Big Project. Let's actually see it. This is the first episode. I'm intrigued at the potential creative gaming has as a platform to experiment and play around with new ideas. And I remember this series was inspired so much by this show on the BBC called The Great Interior Design Challenge in terms of the style of editing, the shots. That song is still like, makes me feel something.
This time, we're at the Spice Market in San Myshuno, famous
Very
for
wide
its Spice
shots.
Festival and Dockland views.
I got better at framing
This is
and
also home
shots
to
and
the
stuff.
Sawyer family. At the moment, functional would be the word
Yeah, so
to
these
describe
static
this.
shots and like just
If
showing
a
the
little
different
crowd.
rooms, that was very much Great
Larger
Interior Design
spice
Challenge
would be
based.
happy for-
And again, the challenge with this series, as with all of the gaming series, was how do you kind of tell the story while just relying on like other footage and other shots that don't have a host actually directly talking to the screen. Oh, and there was the before and after. That was interesting to figure out, like how to make the before and after shots the same. This was so like interior design renovation show sort of thing. Yeah, and so that series kept going, and slowly with each episode I started to create a more distinctive kind of feel with the editing and stuff, and I got more familiar with how the format worked. So there was this like third episode
time,
where
We
whoa,
walked
the
in
sound
green.
is so different. So like the reveal of this one's definitely a bit more of my own style. Oh, again, so much of this series was like based on the music that I could find for it. And every time I listen to the songs, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is this video.
Welcome to Willow Creek's first Festival of Spring, a neighborhood event that offers a warm welcome to the new season.
Okay, the shots aren't quite there yet for this. Like, some are good, some are meh. Oh, and towards the end of this as well, there was this running gag in this series called The Tragedies. They were this like duo of terrible singers, and they'd just show up at the end of certain episodes and they would just perform. So oh no. Okay, this was like when parodies were not done well. I think genuinely one of the reasons why I thought to do this was that the videos were too short. I was like, how can I extend it? Oh yes, and then everyone started leaving. There are all these like little moments that made it slightly more comedic, like the way it cut to the guy's face and like just nobody left at the end of the show. And there was the hospital that I did for a friend. We also like a dream home that I created for someone. And then there was this Myshuno Performing Arts Center. At this point, I started creating builds that were way too big, as it was befitting for a show called The Big Project, right? Like, I started to question, like, how big of a venue can I create? Which also meant that I was taking way too long to create these videos, which, as you can see, is a running theme with how I create stuff. My gosh, but every time you finish a project like that and you see it like done, it's like, wow. At least something came out of it, you know? Oh yes, there was this like, I mean, other than the glitching, that was not really my fault, but the game's fault.
Some key touches to the
Oh my gosh. This took so much work, and then there was like a little Easter egg thing at the end. The tragedies returned. Oh my god. I actually put in effort to create a moment like this. Why? There was a story behind like what they were doing, by the way. It's supposed to be like the sausage roll is like trying to negotiate with the knight. The one that blues the knight, and then they like the chefs come in. This was before I understood what Eurovision was, so I was like, okay, go nuts, like do something chaotic, it probably fits. And turns out I was right. At the end, like the knight wins, the sausage roll gets eaten, and then explosions, fireworks. Oh dear. Okay, so that was the big project. That was season 1. Like, we returned for a second season. So yeah, other than the big project, some other things I created included this series called Household Homes. It was a series where I created households with a sort of backstory and then created a home for them. The Great British Bake Off, but make it in Sims. Here we go.
Grilled Cheese Week! I think it's going to be great.
The judges are looking for 30 delectable oozy grilled cheeses. Make sure they're good, huh?
The trick to a good grilled cheese is making sure that you grill the cheese.
Oh yes, this is when I like asked some friends, like, hey, you wanna help me with this video? I just need a voiceover, please. I hope I got like the nuance of humor.
Toasties, you have 5 minutes left. Make sure
oh
you
yes,
finish
the chaotic
all
scene.
your
Like, you know
time.
how every cooking show has this like intense moment towards the end?
Why is it all going wrong?
Yeah, and then there was a fire, so there's that. So another format that we tried out during this break was called Don't Feed the Cowplant. It was a game show that I created in The Sims. I wanted it to still feel like there was a genuine reason for the show to exist, because you can't really use money as an incentive. I didn't have the budget for it, so I kind of had to leverage on things that existed in The Sims as the high stakes element of the show. In The Sims, there's this plant called a cowplant, and if you allow it to kind of like eat your sim twice in a row, like your sim dies. So I used that as the high stakes element. This was the first pilot episode. Visually, it was really questionable, but like the fact that I even tried it. Yeah, and the lights and stuff. I was quite proud of the fact that I figured out how to make the lights change like that. The question was, which is older, Coke or Pepsi?
I'm gonna go with Coca-Cola.
Final answer?
Yep.
So you chose Coca-Cola as the answer.
Oh, and I remember like the script was so repetitive with the one that I said. I should say I say a script, but like the gameplay that the contestant did was a genuine, like, we did it for real. So over Skype call, I would like ask the questions and stuff. It's just that in editing my hosting side, I had to like redo the voiceover. Oh, but these were such nightmares to edit. I remember it'd take months at a time because I was new to it. It's a completely new format. There's a lot of complications that come with kind of making it look correct and stuff. But over time, I remember like visually it changed a lot and like improved, and to the point that there was a season 2. And actually I feel like season 2 does hold up quite well. So like the set got slightly bigger with some visual updates as well. The pacing I feel like worked a lot better.
Combination.
Like I included a slightly different first round as well, almost like the cube. So again, this was like a challenge of how do you create a game show with like the limiting factors of your contestant is over Skype. There's limitations as to what you can physically do to make it a game show, right? Like, so a lot of it was kind of reaction based, memory based stuff. So this was a combination, right? So you have to remember which one matched which letter.
No clue. 0? Question mark?
I think that she got it.
Send help.
Like straight away though. There was the questions round as well
Cupcakes are
here.
traditionally made
I
from
love that
four
transition. It was so
ingredients:
seamless.
flour, sugar, eggs, and what?
Butter.
Correct.
Like I feel like the sound effects and stuff were less cringy as well. The first season had a very like cartoony sounds for some of the elements, but this one I think overall felt more polished. But then let's just skip to the moment where like you choose the boxes.
5.
This was the yeah. So this is where you'll see like this is what happens when you feed a cowplant in The Sims, and this led to the whole concept of this game show. Yes, we got every contestant to do like a scream. That was, you can tell how that went down. So that was some fun times, like in between. We revisited the big project after that with season 2, and then like similarly, I feel like you can really see the kind of change in terms of the editing and stuff. Like it got more refined, and I'm quite happy that I have this in my archives. I can see where like my growth really went. Oh yeah, I remember all of these, like I was so happy with these kind of little effects and like storytelling like segments. Oh yeah, so because this took like 2 years to create this design, right? So I had elements to show for like these were my failed designs, yada yada yada. So I went through each design and kind of explained why I felt it didn't really work out, as well as it's like what was positive about it and what I brought over to the final design.
2 years behind schedule, but
Such an... I'll just say it's an interesting design for a shopping mall. Like, I can't see Rain working very well with this design, to be honest, but...
the asymmetrical design.
Yes, but I definitely figured out the camera work a lot better by this point, because like the motion, the framing, everything started to feel a lot more like what I really wanted it to be. And that continued for a few more episodes. We had like a pet wellness center and a media hub, and the storytelling started to become like part of the equation. Oh yes, but this was also when I started doing kind of cinematic showcases of videos. Like the one that always stands out for me as like the moment where I started to really pivot into that was like Modern Black Apartments. This was very much inspired by a YouTube channel I watch called Becky and Chris. Till today, a lot of my inspiration comes from them. They're just really refined visual storytellers in terms of their editing and like how they create their videos. The build itself was inspired partly by the apartment that they were living in at the time. It was never something destined for greatness in terms of subscription numbers, but it was so much aligned with the sort of thing I wanted to do and the sort of thing that was fulfilling and satisfying for me. And I kept going with that. Another one that I always love to go back to, in fact, one of my favorite builds is the Shell. It was this very interestingly shaped house. Yeah, see, like it looks like a clamshell. Very much not a normal square house. And I love the interior of this one, like it's definitely my style of interior with the colors. What I love about being able to go back and see all these videos is that I remember very distinctly like certain shots that I'm super happy with. And I feel like over the years as I made more and more videos, those shots kind of added up, because when you create just one video, you may have just one moment in that video where you're like, this is the sort of thing that I want. Over time it adds up, and I guess it really starts to give you like that sense of identity with the sort of videos and styles that you do. Oh yes, and then there were a few of these like little challenges that I gave myself. This was during lockdown, and this was when Eurovision was just cancelled. So this was 2020. I kind of had a few days to create something, and I was like, let's create what I can in a week, see what we get out of it. And this is the Simmervision song contest. That space is so empty, but like visually, there were the postcards as well. Like here we go, this is one of the regions competing. They were like Windenburg, I think. And then you just like transition back to the space that is so black and empty. The light transition, like I got some things done. The video ends very suddenly, but that was kind of the challenge, and I don't think I communicated that very clearly. Like when I first released this video, it was just like, oh, I made a Eurovision video. But there was no, it just ends at like 4 minutes. Oh, and another one that I think shows as well the progress that I made, right? Like, remember the City Skylines video at the start of the Project Gaming? That was in 2016, and then this is in 2020, again during lockdown. This city looks so much more like a real city. And like these shots, there was a real subconscious thing that I was trying to tell through this video, which was the fact that like we were all stuck at home. City Skylines was still a game where you could kind of have a living, breathing city, right? With everyone, like just crowds going everywhere, and I was kind of giving that like juxtaposition of you're at home, stuck and away from all of this, but you could still sort of experience like a city. And that's why I felt like this song works so well with this, because it's just something that's virtual, right? This sudden cut at the end, like where you snap back to reality and like, oh wait, no, you're stuck at home. Like, these are all the things that I feel like I should have explained better when I released the video, but I'm only just getting around to it. But yes, let's wrap up with this video that really shows the contrast. So remember the first video was a Top Gear parody, right? So this one's a more recent one I did that was, it's still 2 years ago, but like a lot more recent. I guess it will show how much like I've managed to progress.
The magic of every generation of Fast Focus though is that somehow Vaughn manages to create something deeply complete.
This was in a different game as well, so I had so much more freedom to actually manipulate the camera and like make it work in the way I wanted to. I remember this video was such a struggle to edit as well, but... And the perfectionist in me is still like, there's stuff I would change about it, but when I compare this with where I started out with in like 2030, 10 years ago, right? There's definitely progress there, and sometimes I feel like I don't give myself enough credit with how far I've come. And I feel like that's a very common thing, like if you're a creative, right? Sometimes you just, when you're kind of so focused on what is currently happening, you don't kind of take the bigger picture and see how far you've come in your creative pursuits. But I think what I like about being in this sort of dichotomy, if you will, is that you never think that you are perfect, because every time I watch my newer videos, even now, I will point out like there are things I would change. I feel like the editing is not as tight as it could be, there are pacing things I would change. I like that there's still room to grow, and I believe that there will always be areas to improve, right? But we shouldn't hold ourselves back just because of like, oh, it's not perfect. But yes, I think big takeaways from just this experience of looking back at 10 years worth of videos, it's really also just seeing that all, like where I am with my editing and stuff came from that many years of practice and like figuring things out. I am not where I'm at right now with my editing and stuff, like far from perfect still, but where I'm at with like me being mostly happy with my videos and stuff came from so many years of work beforehand creating videos that I feel like cringe, that I'm embarrassed to have there in my archive, but you know, on reflection, I needed to make those videos because otherwise I wouldn't have had the kind of practice to make the videos I want to make today. I hope as well this video gave you a chance to see the creative gaming aspect of the stuff I do. I know I've mentioned this a few times in my videos, but perhaps if you're new to my creative journey and weren't part of like the creative gaming era of my videos, you have a better idea now of what I mean when I say like I make Sims videos and like how it's influenced my creative journey. But for today, thank you so much for joining me on this little timeline adventure. Which was your favorite part about this kind of like era of creative gaming? I'd love to hear from you. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you then.